and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys. And what we are going to be talking about is some really important questions for none other than Xavi Hernandez. Because obviously, after the first game of the season, all of that excitement, all of that expectation and hope, unfortunately, followed up there with a bit of disappointment, in terms of dropping points in our opening game. That has added pressure. I think Real Madrid and Atletico following up there with opening day wins hasn't helped us either. But what we have to do right now is stay nice and calm. Early days still. There is plenty to play for and plenty of good times to come, I'm sure. But today, we're still going to be looking into those important questions, because in order to get the best out of this squad, in order to get the best out of this team, and indeed this season, these, in my opinion, are just a few questions here today that Xavi simply must answer. Let's do it. Because indeed, guys, if we do start by talking about the new signings that have arrived at Barcelona, they have brought in a huge amount of quality that we know. We spent a lot of money this summer in order to really improve the squad and strengthen. And I believe here that Xavi has gotten a lot of the players that he asked for, that he demanded in areas that he really did need, which has given him something that he did not have last season. We, for the first time in a long time, I feel, we have real squad depth, which is fantastic. Because in order to be a top team and to be competitive across all of the competitions, we know you simply need a competitive squad to come out on top in a demanding season. But, and this is where the questions start to come in now, looking at all the quality that we have, so many options, especially in midfield and the forward areas in particular, you're tripping over options. You've got so many quality players at your disposal, and that means the question is now for me, can you manage that? Are you going to be able to manage that squad, that kind of competition? Because in order to get the best out of this team, a competitive squad like this, you've got to keep them all happy. You have to find a way there of making them all feel important, like they've got a role to play, they've got a part to play in your team. And whether that means they're being clever in your in-game management in terms of making good substitutions at good times, giving everybody their time on the field, or whether that means good rotation and picking the team on merit, Xavi's got to make sure that he's managing this squad now, that he's managing these new players that have arrived. But of course, guys, let me just say, that is a great problem. That is a nice problem for any coach to have. However, there is also not just the signings to think about this season, because I also want to just talk here about the veteran players at Barcelona, because these are players who have often come under the spotlight, the microscope in recent seasons from both the media and indeed the fan base. And I think it's all sort of revolving around this rebuild that we've been asking for, that we've been demanding at Barcelona, the need to start fresh and ultimately to move on. So that is why this season now, with the players that we brought in, the new chapter that is finally taking effect at the club, you've got to ask, how's Xavi going to manage the veteran players? Well, already we've seen with Gerard Piqué, at least right now, for me it looks as though Xavi has very much made up his mind on Piqué, and that has been conveyed to him. Piqué played a very bit part role in pre-season. He was an unused substitute in the opening game of the campaign, and it seems to me that Xavi believes that Piqué is his fifth choice centre-back this season, behind Araujo, behind Koundé, behind Christensen, and indeed behind Eric Garcia, and that seems to be Piqué's role right now. You've also got Jordi Alba, of course, started ahead of Alejandro Balde in the game against Rayo, then proceeded not to play well, did not put in a good performance, and I'm interested to see now what happens against Real Sociedad. In terms of picking the team on merit, in terms of picking players, who are doing well and performing well, and especially looking further down the line, if Alonso was to arrive at the club too, well, what's the plan then? Are we going to see a change there? And are we going to see enforced changes when players do not step up? And I'd say the same about Busquets. This is going to be his very final season as a Barcelona player. He was left on for the entirety of the game against Rayo. Ended up, of course, getting sent off. And that is going to be really interesting, because now with him suspended against Real Sociedad, that's the perfect chance for Xavi to say, okay, we're going to try something else. Miralem Pjanic's likely to come in. What can he do? Can he follow up and continue to impress Xavi? And then it's going to be over to him to make those big calls, to actually say, there's an opportunity, you've taken it, and now you stay there. And that's the way that it has to be this season. Xavi said himself that every player starts from zero. You've got to earn your place, and you have to be strong and firm this season. Something else as well that I would certainly look at and sort of ponder heading into these upcoming games and indeed the season that is ahead of us. And it would all sort of revolve around the system, around the formation that Xavi is going to look to use at Barça. Because obviously, since he's been at the club, 4-3-3, that's been his go-to. That is a formation that we've seen time and time again. And of course, not just with him, that is the traditional Barcelona formation. But is that the long-term plan? And I do ask that question because that is not the formation that we saw Xavi use and indeed thrive when he was coaching with Al Sadd. Because when he was out there, he consistently used 3 defenders. That is the formation there that he set up. A few different variations of it, but what the real emphasis was the midfield. Packing that with several players there, 4 of them more often than not. And what I also think is that kind of matches up with what we've seen this summer. There's a lot of emphasis on forward, there's a lot of emphasis there on midfield players, and we've kind of neglected the full-back area. So does that mean that maybe further down the line, at some point soon, we're going to see Xavi try something different? And I think if we do, that is going to be very, very fascinating. So I'd really look to keep an eye on that and see exactly the kind of plan and the system that Xavi is going to go with when he gets all of his players in that he wants this summer. And I think with everything else said, when you're talking about new signings, when you're talking about systems, when you're talking about managing players, those are all very, very important aspects in terms of being successful internally and managing things at the club. But I think externally too, that is going to prove to be a very crucial part. And I want to talk here about expectations, because above all else this season, it is going to be about for Xavi managing those expectations, handling the pressure. And he knows that only too well, because he said even before the first ball was kicked against Rayo that he knew the pressure was there. He understood the raised expectations, and he said he enjoyed it. He said, I really want that. I want the pressure. I want the expectations to be there. I want to be in a position where I can win trophies and be competitive. But obviously against Rayo, you draw your first game, you drop points, the teams around you, the rivals win, and suddenly that's not a good start. And that is only going to increase now the pressure on Xavi, but he knows that. And that's the thing I would say about Xavi right now. He understands the way that this club works. He knows about the noise outside of the club, the demands every single match day. He's spent his entire life here, and I think what he has to do is focus on the work. The training ground is where this season will be won and lost, and what he has to do is cancel out all of the rest. We didn't get off to a good start, no, we dropped points, it wasn't ideal, we are all aware of that, but let's go game by game now. Let's continue building, put that behind us, and the next game is on Sunday. Away at Real Sociedad. It is a big game. We need a performance, and I think that should be highlighted. Nobody's shying away from that. We need to hit back. We need a response. But if we can get it, that then for me, that's lift-off for the season. Get a big win away at Real Sociedad at the Anoeta, and we can really start then to get those good feelings back. The pressure will just be relieved a little bit. We can get down to business, and that's what Xavi must focus on here. Get the results, get the performances, and manage this team. Because we do have the players, we do have the quality this season, make no mistake about it, to be very, very successful. So indeed, guys, those there were some very early thoughts in the season from me, the disappointment of the game against Rayo, but now looking forward, and of course questioning things, that's always important. You've got to be self-critical in football. You've always got to look at what you can do better, where you can improve, how you can get the best out of what you have. Xavi, I'm sure, you know him. You know the perfectionist that he is. He is certainly going to be looking to do that, and we have to try now to hit back and start delivering in this new season as soon as we possibly can. Please leave your thoughts in the comments down below on some of the questions that we have discussed in today's video, and also any questions you may have. What would you like to ask of Xavi, and what do you think needs to be answered in the coming season? Please do let me know all of those thoughts and your feelings down below. I will see you soon with plenty more videos to come very, very soon indeed. But until next time, guys, as always, Visca El Barça!